Hey, everybody, welcome to Resiliency Radio, your go-to podcast for the most cutting-edge insights in integrative and functional medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Jill, and in each episode, we dive into the heart of healing and personal transformation. Today, I am so excited to interview special guest Dana and Shayna. And I want to introduce them in just a minute, but I want to say, I do a lot of different topics. You guys who've been around a while know I do everything from microbiome to some of the experts on nitric oxide and physical training and biohacking and even just how to sleep better. Today, I'm super excited, and I just encourage you to open your mind because I am one side a scientist and the other side unicorn. And on that side, I love to combine right and left brain thinking. And to me, what we're going to talk about today is one of the most profound things that has changed my life and my perspective. But I'm just going to encourage you, if you're a scientist at heart, have an open mind, because if you're like me, you may find something powerful here. And like I said, we'll get into this and get into the story and history behind it. But first, I'm going to introduce Dana and Shayna. Dana Stiles and Shayna Cornelius, human design experts, authors, and podcast hosts, co-founded DayLuna to help individuals pursue self-love, freedom, and authenticity. And here's where we align so deeply, because I like to do the same thing with functional medicine. They met over 14 years ago while working in corporate roles and were drawn to spirituality and experienced a significant shift after discovering human design just before their Saturn returns. This led to them leaving their traditional careers and focusing on sharing human design knowledge. Since launching in 2019, they've guided thousands of clients and trained new human design readers, making the system more accessible. Their work includes personalized readings, courses, kits, and their book, Your Human Design. The podcast, with over 2 million downloads, covers spirituality and self-empowerment and features guests such as Terry Cole, Sahara Rose, and others. Outside of her work, Shane enjoys traveling, spending time with her dogs at the beach, while Dana pursues snowboarding, painting, Kundalini practice, and they are out of California. And Shayna, you've got a new baby in the background. So congratulations.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here. We are obsessed with your work and have been learning so much from you. So we're just grateful that we get to be here today.
I am so grateful because, like I said, human design, I've been kind of an amateur, but whenever I find something fascinating, we're a party of projectors, which if you're listening, you'll learn what that means in a few minutes. But for me, it's been so fascinating to dive deep. And what I found is when I didn't have to really suspend my disbelief, but having, that science background, this could be an area where, like I framed our listeners, they might have a little skepticism, but it's been so powerful in understanding myself. So I just want to share it with the listeners, but let's go back first. You guys met 14 plus years ago. How did that happen? And tell us just a little bit about your history in starting the work with DayLuna.
Yeah, so Shayna and I met in college and we instantly hit it off as BFFs. And we had such a similar energy and worldview. And we always felt really aligned and sort of like we saw the world in the same way. And after we graduated college, we went out into the world and we did all of the steps that we thought we should, that we had been taught to do. You know, you graduate, you go find a real job and you work that corporate job. And it didn't take very long for both of us to feel completely exhausted, completely burned out, completely drained. And we are not even 30 years old. And we both were just like having this quarter life crisis. Like, this cannot be what life is about. You know, I'm so young and I already feel like I'm getting sick. I have brain fog. I just feel like my soul is being sucked out of me. And I don't get it because I followed all of the rules. I did everything I was taught to do. And so, being best friends through that process, we both kind of went on this sort of dark night of the soul spiritual journey. Like, okay, what we've been doing does not work, and this can't be life. Like, there's got to be more to life. So we started reading books and learning about spirituality and doing breath work and doing yoga and going to retreats. And that whole soul seeking process together as best friends led us to discovering human design. And human design is this system that was downloaded by a man named Ra Aruhu in the late 80s. And in this meditative state, he was able to kind of have this channeled understanding of these different ancient modalities that have been around for thousands of years, like Western astrology, the Chinese I-Ching, the Kabbalah tree of life, and the chakra system, looking at how all of these ancient sciences that have been very meaningful and supportive to people over millennia come together in this synthesis and kind of looking at that, he also was able to sort of look at modern science as well and see how our modern science can sort of fit in or play into these ancient spiritual sciences. So when we discovered this system, we both discovered that we are the same exact type. Out of the 5 human design types, we're both projectors, which you are too, Dr. Joe. And also, Shane and I are both 2 4s. Our profile is the same. And instantly, it was just this profound light bulb moment for us. First of all, that's why we had always connected to each other so deeply and sort of felt different from our other friends, but also why we felt so exhausted and drained and burned out and depleted from our 9 to 5 jobs that we'd only been working for a few years. And because we were projectors, projectors out of the 5 human design types have very inconsistent energy levels, and they're really only designed to work about 2 to 4 hours of hard energy output a day. And if you're doing more than that, you can have severe burnout that leads to dis-ease of different sorts and can really have long-term lasting effects. So learning this information about ourselves, it was just like a profound moment in our lives. Honestly, it changed the course of our lives to understand this about ourselves because it resonated so deeply. And we started to experiment with some of the strategies that human design offers. So that is by far our favorite thing about human design, is that it's taking all of this mystical information about you, but also ancient information that's been around and withstood the test of time. And people have found this information meaningful for thousands of years. But it's taking all of that and boiling it down to say, here is a practical strategy that you can utilize in your day-to-day life so that you can come into better alignment with your natural energy, because everybody is different. Everybody has different types of energy. Everybody's energy works in different ways. We like to liken it to thinking about your body, your energetic vehicle, as like a car. Some cars are diesel, some cars are hybrid, some cars are electric. And if you're trying to put diesel gas in an electric car, like your car is going to explode on the road, right? So human design is really giving you this roadmap to understand how your unique energy works, but then a strategy to apply so that you can align with your true nature. And by just experimenting with those strategies for 1 month, we decided as best friends that we were going to challenge ourselves and every single day to check in and to really apply these strategies. And in that 1 month, everything in our lives began to change. We got all of this clarity about how we had been forcing ourselves to fit in some box that wasn't right for us, and that we had been draining ourselves dry and really going against our true nature, what we really wanted in life. And that was the reason that we had been feeling so much burnout. So that moment, that month of just experimenting together was honestly the foundation and the springboard for our entire human design journeys, and eventually creating a business where we teach human design and we empower other people to learn about their unique energy so they can come into greater personal alignment with their true nature.
Brilliantly said. And I'm smiling so big because the same thing happened to me when I found human design and realized I was a projector and understood what that meant, and then really dove deep into the different lines and ways that I was manifesting in the world. It changed everything for me, like completely. And I want to have you guys talk about the 5 main types so that if someone's listening and wants to know more. But let me just talk a moment to those who are skeptical. It's okay if you're like, huh, whatever. And again, I come from science and faith background, and so I like to challenge, but I want to know what works, right? And that's why I'm here with you guys and being one of your biggest fans, because this works. And this has literally allowed me to manifest a book and a movie and to work in a way that fits with my design and to show up in the world. And it's interesting, some of my really close friends are projectors, and I do have this like special bond with them because of that whole thing and understanding. And I literally, often people in my life, I do the typing and kind of know a little bit. It helps me so much even in how I engage with them and how I motivate them and how I support them. Let's go back though to for those who are just new to this and are what in the world is human design. I thought you did a great job, Shayna, of talking about that. Let's talk about the 5 types, at least the basics, so that people could get an idea of where they might fit.
Yeah. So when we're, in this space, we're talking about your energetic body
Mhm.
and how your energetic body operates in the world, where there's less resistance and where there's more ease and where you are the most magnetic, right? Where your energy is magnetizing the things that are aligned for you to be able to use your gifts in a way that is resonant, right? Instead of disharmonious or causing that friction in your energetic body. So a lot of times when we are going throughout our day-to-day life, we are forcing or we're pushing or we're trying to fit into some mold that isn't really resonant with our energy, but we're kind of fumbling around in the dark because we don't know what our energetic body looks like, or what is friction that is bringing us, that hustle and grind and closer to our dreams, or what is that magnetism, that alignment that is charging and amplifying our life, and that alignment that we're seeking, right? It's hard to tell the difference when you don't have languaging for these energetic things that we're all feeling on a day-to-day basis. And we all resonate with feeling, the energy shift in a room when somebody walks in the room. We all resonate with feeling like empathetic or moved emotionally by something that we see or observe or hear, or somebody going through a difficult time. We are moved by people all the time. And this is something that's happening on an energetic basis. So understanding that your energy is shifting the energy around you and vice versa, that's when we can start to have this understanding of, how is my energy different from my partner or my parents or my clients, for example? And how do I optimize that? How do I use this to support me to create more alignment, not just in my life, but in everybody whose energy comes into contact with my energetic field? So it's really empowering and it's really fascinating. But we start off with your type. And that's like the broadest category in human design. There's 5 different types. And human design gets incredibly specific, right? We have your type, then we get into how you make decisions, then we get into how you teach and how you share, then we get into how you are empathetically picking up on other people and consistently impacting other people. And then we get into things like your gifts and your talents and your purpose and how you digest food and the right environment that you're meant to live in, the right mindset you're meant to have. So it gets really, really specific. It's definitely not one size fits all. It's just as unique as each individual as a fingerprint is. But the best way to kind of ease into it is starting with that broadest category. What type are you? So the 5 different types, there's manifestors, there's generators, manifesting generators, projectors, which is what all 3 of us are, and then reflectors. So manifestors are this energetic type that are here to initiate, that are here to rally energy in the world around them. And they do that through informing, through speaking and sharing the things that are going on in their inner world. Now, manifestors, they just want to be doing their own thing. They want to be kind of left alone to work on their urges or their passion projects. So a lot of manifestors have businesses, they have several different projects that they picked up or left behind and transitioned and shifted. But ultimately, manifestors' energy is here to impact the world around them through the things that they're saying and speaking and doing. So if you're a manifestor, you're around 7% of the population and on the rarer side. So you can feel like a black sheep in your day-to-day life. And it feels counterintuitive to have to inform because you want to just be doing your own thing. So knowing that, okay, my energy is going to make an impact, whether you want it to or not, the way that you kind of take control or impact in a way that is supporting you and supporting other people is through informing everyone around you how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're wanting to do next. And it rallies that energy to get on board to support you. And Dana, is there anything else you want to add in here for manifestors before I move on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that manifestors have this sacred role overall to be like a fire starter. They are the starters. They initiate energy. Them saying one thing ends up being a catalyst in someone else's life where you end up having all this growth and new stuff happening, new innovations because of a manifestor. So as a manifestor, you play that role of initiator. And I wanted to highlight that because we all are sort of like different puzzle pieces that have different roles energetically. And when we put that puzzle piece together, we get this beautiful harmonious whole. But the problem with that is that most people who are not manifestors, like all of us here projectors, we've been taught to initiate like a manifestor, put yourself out there, go knock on those doors, go let them know you're here, go be the one who goes first. But as a projector, we have the opposite energy, right? We're meant to wait for the invitation. Now, if you're actually a manifestor, oftentimes as a child, you're conditioned against your nature, no matter what type you are. So manifestors are shy to initiate. They're shy to go
Be
first.
quiet, don't be so loud, don't be so right. When they're
Right.
children. And that's called conditioning, which maybe you could just kind of define that. I think that's so important because that was my biggest aha was like, oh, all this conditioning is not really me, right?
Right, absolutely. I like to liken it to the conversation about nature versus nurture, right? We have our true nature, that's our human design. That's what we're talking about, what we'll see in your human design chart. And then we have our nurture, who we've been taught to be. Now, some of those things that we've been taught to be are beneficial to who we are, they're supportive of our true nature. Other things we've been taught to be go completely against the grain from who we really are. So as a manifestor, manifestors are so bold. They can really be someone who stirs some stuff up as they're meant to. But as a child, their parents might tell them to tone it down, to reel it in, to not be so big, to not be so much. And so they are conditioned to believe that it's a negative thing to be impactful and to be a fire starter or an innovator or a trailblazer. And they can really quiet those inner urges they have. And then over time, when they learn about their human design, it's like, I don't even resonate with being a fire starter because I haven't given myself permission to do that because of the conditioning that's been placed upon me. So once you learn your human design chart, then we go on the journey of deconditioning, unlearning all of the things that we've been taught that are not supportive of our true nature. And the cool thing is, there's nothing that you're trying to become. You already are all of these energies. It's really about letting go of everything that you're not. And so, for a lot of people, when they find their human design chart and they learn a bit about it, we hear this word over and over again: permission. It gives you permission to be who you've secretly always wanted to be, but you've been taught that it's not okay, that it's not lovable, that it's not okay to be that way because maybe your parents were different or your friends were different. So for manifestors, I think that they do have a somewhat challenging role because they are the one that's here to go first and to be brave and to be bold. And it's like a lot of celebrities, for example, are manifestors. We have a disproportional amount of celebrities because they're people who just have such a powerful energy. They get in there and they're willing to go first, and they don't need to be invited. They don't need to respond to their environment. They're here to just be that trailblazer, independent kind of energy. So for manifestors, they kind of start off this puzzle piece. They're the first one to put something out there. And then there's, the generators, which is next on the out of the 5 types. And generators are a bit more common. They're about over 35% of the population. And generators are all about their body, right? That is the main thing that we want them to focus on. Their body has this consistent energy to do and to create and to build, as long as what they're doing or creating is something that actually lights them up. So they have to have this body excitement response to something in order to get a sustainable amount of creative energy to work on it. So the biggest trick for generators is only do what you love and let your body, not your mind, tell you what's actually right for you. Now, that's easier said than done, right? Because a lot of us have responsibilities. The conditioning that generators hear when they're a kid is to just put your head down and to serve other people. Generators are very warm and nurturing and they want to help others, but that can often lead to sacrificing their own joy, sacrificing what they're actually excited to do. And that can lead to burnout, even though they're designed to have sustainable amounts of energy. So for a generator, your strategy, the thing that we want you to practice and experiment with, is called responding, waiting to respond. And what that means is really being present to the stimuli in your environment, really being present to what's around you, and then listening to your body when your body gets excited by something in your environment, when your body just gets this spark and this ignited, turned on energy where it's like, yeah, my engine just revved for this thing in front of me. That's your body telling you, pour your energy into that thing. It's right for you to eat this meal or go on this walk or call this person. Once you get that response of energy in your body, not your mind. And that's really tricky because our mind has so many stories about what we should be working on and who we should be helping and how we should be working. And for generators, it's about dropping out of the mind and really going into their gut, into their body, and feeling when they have that rise of energy in response to something, lean in. So the third type is manifesting generators. And just as it sounds, it's sort of like a hybrid of the first two types that we just talked about. So just like a generator, they have all of this creative energy to do and to build and create, but they have to be doing something that they actually want to do, something that lights them up, something that energizes them. That's where they get that sustainable energy source. So once again, their strategy is responding, listening to your body. What is your body actually excited to do? Those are the things that's right for you. And if your body feels like a lack of energy or drudging through the mud in response to something, that's your body indicating that this thing is not aligned for you in this moment. But also, just like a manifester, they're really here to initiate. They're here to be a trailblazer, to do things in a new and different way. So what that looks like, a lot of manifesting generators have a ton of different passions and talents. And they master things really quickly, and then they're ready to move on. They get bored really quickly. They want the next challenge. So generators are a bit more singular in their focus. When they find something that's really right for them, they might want to dedicate their energy to mastering that over time. Whereas manifesting generators need a lot of different fires going all at once in their life. And that's what keeps them vital and fresh and aligned. If they're doing something that feels monotonous or boring, that can be so horrible for their energy, and it can give them burnout, even though they're designed to be someone who's very energetic when they are allowing themselves to do what they love and in a multifaceted way with a lot of variety. Yes. And then the next type is projectors, which all of us three are. And projectors are a bit more rare. They're less than 20% of the population. And projectors do not have a consistent amount of energy the way that generators or manifesting generators do. Instead, we have inconsistent energy levels. That is how we are designed to be. We do not have this engine in our body that just creates new energy anytime we're excited about something. So as a projector, you could be so excited about something and be in love with a project, but you only have a certain amount of energy to work on that thing. And that energy is totally inconsistent. So as a projector, your whole life purpose is actually not about doing or creating or working. It's way more about guiding others. Projectors are incredible at seeing other people, seeing right to the core of who someone is. And because of that, they're able to give incredible advice on how that person can be directed towards greater alignment, towards what's really right for them. So they make amazing therapists and teachers and guides. And also, projectors are able to look deeply into a system and see the inner workings of how something works, how it can become more efficient. And so often projectors also end up guiding or consulting systems, businesses, a new way of doing something. They have unique insight about how to better something that already exists. They look into things and then offer advice about how to tweak it. So as a projector, leaning into that side of you, leaning into the side of you that sees unique things about the world, that wants to share how things can be better, that wants to give advice and guidance, that's really where your zone of genius is and what you're here to contribute to the world. Now, a huge caveat for projectors: if you are giving unsolicited advice as a projector, it's extremely repelling to other people. So your whole strategy in life as a projector is waiting for the invitation. You're here to see these deeper things and observe the world. You're very analytical, and you're always wanting to kind of dive into the psychological understanding of things, but you're then waiting for people to invite you energetically before you're sharing that wisdom, before you're imparting or inserting that advice on other people. So that can sometimes feel like a hard pill to swallow when you first find out that you're a projector, but it's here to help you conserve your energy, right? You don't have tons of energy to waste. So making sure that you're only giving your advice when you're energetically invited is really something that benefits you, and it helps make sure that your wisdom and advice is landing in the correct place.
Love it. And the reflector.
Yeah. So the reflector is our 1% of the population. They're very rare. Reflectors are completely empathetic people. They're completely open in their human design chart. So as a reflector, you are taking in your environment and the energy in your environment just like a sponge and temporarily becoming that, almost like a chameleon. So you're just like the name sounds, you're reflecting your environment. And so as a reflector, it's really important to know that any place that you go into, you're meant to be very sensitive and very empathetic to that energy, and to feel and almost become in your body the energies around you, right? And that is how you develop wisdom over time. Reflectors have this sacred purpose of showing us who is healthy, who is aligned, and who isn't. So when a reflector goes into a social work environment, let's say, they can feel, oh, there's disharmony here, there's discord. They'll feel it resulted and reflected in their physical body. Their body is like a gauge or a temperature thermometer check on the health and authenticity of people around them. So, in that way, they're able to give very embodied wisdom and guidance of how to better ourselves and become more healthy, more authentic. And the strategy for reflectors is actually slowing down. You are so sensitive that you do not take the same rules of like, speeding through life. You really need to slow down and attune to the moon's cycles. So we like to recommend for reflectors to wait an entire lunar cycle before they make any big decisions in their life, to just give themselves all of that time to feel their way through something before they can get clarity on how they want to move forward. And that's how they make sure that they're navigating life as their true self instead of as a reflection of all the people around them, what other people want them to do. So you can see that those 5 different types, they're very different. They all have those different strategies that you can practice. And we definitely like to say it is an experiment in human design. So if this conversation interests you, you can just experiment with that strategy we offered for each of the 5 types and see for yourself, how do you feel in 1 week of doing that or 2 weeks of doing that? Do things sort of feel easier? So if you're a projector, for example, next time you want to insert your advice, really asking yourself, do I feel like this person is inviting me to share or not? And just holding back if you feel like you don't have that invitation. And over a week's time or 2 weeks time or a month of time, see what changes and shifts in your life. And we always like to say, if you feel like this is something that makes you feel like more of yourself, you feel more energized after doing that, you feel more like more opportunities are coming and flowing to you, you have more ease in your relationships instead of friction, that's really a signpost that this might be a system that really is something that aligns with you and that you want to dive into a little bit deeper.
What a beautiful one thing I love about you guys, because I've listened to a lot of your content and been following you for a while, is just that you make it so practical and accessible. And you just have both of you guys have such a great way of explaining. So obviously a lot of my people listening either have health issues or interested in functional medicine. How might this, 2 things I want to say. First of all, if you're listening, like, I don't know what they're talking about, you can go to DayLunaLife.com and we'll be sure and link everything up in the show notes and make sure you can find Shayna and Dana. But I'm sure you offer a way to get a free chart, right, on your website, I'm assuming. Yeah, right.
Yes.
So you can go there. Yeah, go ahead and mention that, because I want to just make sure if people want to know more, you can figure this out. And the DayLunaLife.com is where Shayna and Dana are. And how does that work? They just go there and get a free chart and then.
Yeah, right on our website, you can generate your chart for free. We just want to make sure that you have your birth time from your birth certificate. So it's best not to round up or ask your mom, but to try to get that exact timing if possible. And then once you generate your chart in our free calculator, you'll pull up your human design body graph. And it looks like a body with these different energy centers. And then you'll see all of these written categories. And we want you to pay attention to those written categories on the side first and foremost. On our website, it has like a little blurb about some of the aspects you can sort of dive in there. And we also have our podcast, which is an amazing free resource. So if you see on your type that you're a projector or generator, you can go to our podcast, the DayLuna Human Design Podcast. We have an episode for generators. You could just listen to that one and get all of the information about just your type. And we have an episode for almost every single aspect of your chart. So that's a great free resource if you are curious and you want to learn more. Since it's such a layered and detailed system, it takes a bit of education and experimenting to kind of find resources that are really helpful. So we think our podcast is a really great one. You can go through piece by piece and look up every aspect of your chart through a podcast episode that we have.
Thank you. And yes, I would agree, because I listen to a lot of them and I think you guys are some of my favorite people to listen to. And it's so fun to have you here. So if you just listen to all that or like, what in the world, we'll go to DayLunaLife.com, check out your chart and start to just navigate a little. And if you're like me, then I want to know everybody close in my life. In fact, there was a time when I would date and on the first day, I'm like, okay, what time were you born? When you're like, I want to know, because I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time until I know, like, at least that we have some compatibility.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where it gets really fascinating, actually, is to learn about your parents and your partner or your
Yeah.
kids, because then you start to see the contrast of And it really gives you some perspective. Like, for example, my husband is designed to make decisions. He has sacral authority. So he's designed to make decisions in a split second. He just trusts that first thing he feels. And I am the exact opposite. I have emotional authority. So my decision making tells me that I need a day or a week sometimes to make a big decision. So learning that we are so different in that way, it was a light bulb moment. So learning about my own was very powerful. But seeing his in contrast was sort of where the magic happens, where you realize, wow, everyone really is different. How do I give myself permission to do life my way? And also, how do I love and accept people who are different than me so that we can have more harmony and get rid of some of that friction that we end up creating when we expect other people to live life the way that we do?
I love that because probably the most powerful, number one, was understanding myself and how I show up in the world. And even that self-compassion of like having compassion about my lack of my own energy source, right? So that I'd have this, fluctuating energy. I'm like, oh, that's just how I have so much more self-compassion. But maybe more than that, or at least as a close friends and family member, I love to create in fact, my definition of love is how do we create an optimal space for transformation for another human being, like this totally unconditional loving space. And for me, understanding people, whether it's through human design or some other way, although that's been my favorite by far, I can come to them and show them so much more loving compassion and support because I know how they're designed to think and work and be, and I don't have to change them or fit them into my box. So I love it for that sake too, of just understanding people better. So powerful.
Yes, that is so beautiful. I love what you said about creating an ideal space for transformation and that being a way
Yeah.
to give love. That's so beautiful. And one of the amazing uses of human design is, empowering our children, even or anyone you love, when you're wanting to help them find their truth
Mhm.
and not tell them what to do or what they should think, but really to empower someone. What do you know and feel is right for you? But with a little bit more of a specificity, right? So you're not just going in blind saying, trust yourself, because we hear
Right,
that a
right.
lot, but it's like, okay, how do I
Yeah,
do that?
yeah.
And what exactly? But instead, if you can see, someone has emotional authority, for example, you can say, well, why don't you sleep on it and give it a few days and see how you feel? And just that one piece of advice, but it is backed with the knowledge of how their energy works.
Yeah.
It is so supportive. And on the other side of that, if you tell someone to sleep on it when they don't have that aspect of their design and they're supposed to be spontaneous, like I used to tell my husband, who's designed to make spontaneous decisions, like, you need to sleep on this. Like, you're being just so crazy to make this decision in the moment. This is before I knew human design. Little did I know I was derailing him and creating all of this self-doubt in his mind because he wanted to just trust himself. And
Yeah.
I had this voice that was like, are you crazy? And it was coming out of love and concern for him. And also it was coming out of like, that's what works for me. So I'm wanting to support him with that same thing. And that's how we get that conditioning, right? That pulls us away from our true nature. Is it comes out of love. It comes out of parents wanting to support their children, wanting you to have the best life. But when we don't understand that we're all different, it ends up being very unsupportive to other people.
Wow, I love that. And I'm just going to share because I learned with my splenic authority that I can look at my calendar a month ahead and be like, oh, this will work and this will work and this will work and this will work. And then in the real time on the real day, I always know what's right. And I'd love for you guys to comment on how that works because I have learned to be more confident in sometimes I'll cancel things because I just don't feel in the moment, or I always know that in the real moment, I will always know exactly what to do and it will be right. But an hour before or 2 days before, I can't always predict. Do you want to comment on that? Because I'm sure there will be other
Yes.
authorities and how that works because it's hard to live in a world where they expect you to have a week ahead, a month ahead to know exactly, and I don't always. So I'm trying to
Right.
live my authority. But yeah, tell me more about that for those who are.
Yeah, absolutely. So on those written categories in your chart, you'll see next to authority, you either have emotional authority, sacral authority, splenic authority, and there's 8 different ones. But emotional, sacral, and splenic are the most common. So the majority of us listening will have one of those three. And if you have splenic authority, like you do, Dr. Jill, then that means that you are designed to trust that first instinctual feeling that you have in your body when you're making an important life decision. And that realm of like just subtle instinctual knowing that you feel in your body is the way that you find your truth. And it is very spontaneous, meaning it can totally change. So in one moment, you might feel like, yes, I feel like instinctually this is right. I have this knowing. The next day, you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right anymore. That could be something like going into a restaurant or staying in a hotel, but it could be something also really big, like, signing this contract. It felt right in one moment, it feels wrong in the other. And so absolutely what you're saying, giving yourself permission to be very present and to to really feel, if suddenly I feel a red flag go up in inside my being, this feels off. I need to pivot, to give yourself permission. That's what's ideal for you. That's how you really find your true path. Now, the world does not set up to allow that. Like you
No.
really have to, you have to fight to communicate for yourself, to advocate for yourself. And I think that you are an incredible example, like a poster child for splenic authority. Cause, we've just, from hearing some of the stories you share about, let's say, for example, giving a speech up on a stage. And it's like, I had this thing that maybe I had to submit what I was going to say 2 months ago. And now in the moment, it's like, no, I actually know internally, I have this instinctual knowing I have to change my plan and I have to tell this story. So you listening to that is how you align to your sacred truth. That's your soul guiding you towards that change. But then, the moderators that are hosting this event could be like, hey, what the heck? You submitted this other plan 2 months ago. So it takes kind of an act of rebellion and educating people and really communicating, I'm sorry, I really feel that I need to change this, or holding space in the beginning to say, I know that you have this procedure to put in this plan, but I'd really like to reserve the space to change my mind the day of. And that the more that we communicate those things and know that it's okay within ourselves, the easier it is for other people to accept it. So all of us have this story that it's just impossible, that no one's going to accept that answer. But if you honestly accept it within yourself first, and then you communicate it confidently and clearly, you'd be surprised how much people are willing to work with you. It takes that inner permission slip first. And I feel like we're all so focused on the outer permission slip. Like no one will give me permission to live that way. But if you're not giving it to yourself internally first, there's never an opportunity for you to actually get to actualizing it, living your truth authentically. And in Shayna and I's experience with our business, there's been so many things that we followed our inner authority, our intuition with human design on the things that we've created. And people have been like, are you guys crazy? Like, why are you doing this? Who told you to do this? What, strategic authority told you to do this? And we're like, literally, we're just following what we feel is true within ourselves. And we have vowed to do that with every major decision that we've done in our business. And a lot of times it doesn't make sense mentally. It's like, why do I feel so strongly about this? I can't explain it. It doesn't make sense on paper. But if you really allow yourself to experiment with just following that, and then you see how it lands later, it's like, thank goodness I listened to myself. So that's a part of the experiment too, right? It's that strategy that we talked about with your type. If you're a manifestor, informing, if you're a generator, a man gen, to listen to your body and to listen to what your body's responding to with energy. If you're a projector, waiting for the invitation. And if you're a reflector, slowing down and attuning to that lunar cycle, giving yourself 28 days to feel things through. It's following that strategy. And then the second part is listening to your authority, right? So either splenic authority, emotional authority, and making big decisions in that way. And for all of us, it feels like such a huge leap of faith to surrender to, like, I don't know why, but my inner authority is telling me this thing. And then later on, we get to see, wow, because I listened to that, even though in the moment, maybe it disappointed someone or it didn't make sense on paper, later on, it led me to be in the perfect place at the perfect time for my true path. And so our life is really made up out of these big decisions, one decision by the next. That's sort of how we paint on the tapestry of our life. And so even if you have, a long way to go, or if you're on a healing journey, or if you're in a transformational journey, we always say that, like, your next big decision is the one that counts. Your next big decision, you have an opportunity to really trust yourself, and your human design chart is going to give you an empowered understanding of exactly what that looks like for you, because trusting ourselves and finding our truth is different for everybody.
Oh, gosh, I love that. Do you want to say something, Shayna?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the beauty with human design is that it gives you this languaging to something that you've always felt. And that languaging allows your mind to get on board to then understand it and experiment with it with confidence. And so, for me, it was always this feeling of like, okay, be myself, but who is that? Or trust myself, but how? And having this languaging to really say, this is how you make decisions as a unique individual. This is how you navigate your day-to-day energetics. This is how you're empathetic. This is your gifts. This is your purpose. Then experimenting with it and seeing how it feels so resonant, seeing how far it takes me with little effort. all of that, it's so empowering and it's so liberating. And I think that's the main focus and gift with our work, is the liberation that you experience, that you give to yourself, but also then, like you said, you then can hold space for other people to have that liberation as well, and to really be empowered to live their lives how it's going to feel the best for them. That's going to attract them to their purpose, to give their gifts to the world and help liberate other people too. So it truly is a gift, and it's a gift for our health too. Before I found human design, I was chronically sick. I had strep throat, I think, for 1 year, where I got it every other month for a year straight. Like I had mono, I had so many sicknesses and illnesses where I was getting CAT scans and MRIs, and I could not get better. And every doctor was telling me, you're fine. And then once I started practicing my human design, I literally haven't been sick since, like, for years, which is crazy. So I'm not saying that human design is going to make you super healthy, but it is going to show you how you are empowered to, I don't want to say take control of, but you're empowered to amplify your energy and work with your energy day to day, moment by moment, and not have to like do some huge thing outside of yourself to find results or to find ease in your day to day life.
Gosh, I just want to echo everything you're saying, because again, for me, it's probably been 8 years or more that I've really been studying human design, and it's given me so much freedom and permission. And what I saw, just like you said, Shayna, is my health came to a new level when I was living in alignment with my authenticity and purpose, like who I was created to be. And so that's why I love having you guys on here, because it really is a health issue. When you are misaligned or not authentically living with who you were created to be, your health will be affected. It will, because unless we're total alignment spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and doing the work in the world that we are created to do, our body knows that malalignment. Even if our mind says, no, this is fine, this is right, we're supposed to, we should, all those conditioning words, right? And when I let go of that, and then I saw in my life, just as you guys were describing, with that splenic authority and being a projector, there's been over and over again, my book, all the publishers said, you can't do a memoir. That's ridiculous. Guess what? I knew I was supposed to do a memoir, and it was perfect. And then when we thought about the movie, I just had this vision, this idea, and I knew it was the right thing. We had no funding, no money, no, like nothing that the world would have said is the right plan. And yet I was like, no, this is right. And within a week, I had a whole team. Within 3 months, I had the whole budget from an investor. And that was just knowing, that intuitive knowing. And I moved forward, because even though everybody in the world said it was crazy, it wasn't crazy, and I knew it. And then just recently, I was talking to my office manager. We did a new launch of a new product line, and everybody on my team's like, Jill, that's so competitive, that market and beauty care. I have a new Dr. Jill beauty line, and we were doing some work with that. Everybody on the team was like, no, not a great idea. But I was like, no, I think this is really important. And it's been amazing how it's manifested and, been so aligned. But all those times I trusted that intuitive knowing in the moment, and it never led me astray. And then, like you said, Shane, I think for those listening, when you really understand this and try to live in according, and it's just one map that's really, really good that gives you some permission, right? So I don't want to, we could talk for hours, and I'm going to have you guys back on, but maybe let's just wrap up with some of the biggest like things you've seen. You've guided and done podcasts with thousands of people. You've done retreats. I mean, you guys are so active. I love the work that you're doing. What's some of the, maybe give us one or two stories of some of the biggest transformations or ahas that you've seen and people that you've talked to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that one of the greatest gifts that human design gives is the ability to have true confidence in what you feel and to not get pulled down or swayed when people question you. So just like you were sharing with your journeys of creating your book, and everyone's like, you can't do a memoir with creating your beauty line, people being like, this market's too saturated. We've seen countless number of people who have come to us. I mean, we really like to specialize in the entrepreneurial realm because human design specifically changed our lives in that way. We get really excited about empowering people to provide for themselves by truly sharing their soul's gifts in a way that is aligned for them, to create a career structure that works for you instead of feeling like you're trying to fit yourself into a box. So we love doing that. We've worked with thousands of people that when they come to us at first, they have this incredible, amazing idea. And we ask them, do you have have an amazing idea, they're like, no, I have nothing. And then somehow it gets out that they have this amazing idea. And we're like, are you kidding? That's like the most genius thing I've ever heard. But because of human design, it empowers them to just go for it, to get rid of the self-doubt. There's a million reasons why you couldn't or why you shouldn't. And there's only one reason to do it. And that's because you know it's right for you. So we've seen so many people give themselves permission to just live their unique life instead of trying to shut that down and fit themselves in the box and quiet their voice. Like every single one of us has a unique purpose that we're here to live. And I feel like the wisdom of your human design chart just helps you in those moments where someone tells you you can't. You have this voice inside saying, yes, I can. And here's how I can do it. And so that's been the biggest thing that we've seen. I also want to say that, we host in-person retreats, international retreats, and to have a group of people come together in a physical space, up to 30 people, and they all have an understanding of each other's unique energy. That it has been an incredible life-changing experience for us because, for example, I have a family of origin with 8 people, and that felt like chaos. It felt like we were all doing different things at different times, and we were blaming each other and shaming each other, and we just couldn't have harmony very easily. Instead to have this group of 30 people who just get that this projector needs a nap and that manifestor needs to leave class early because they don't feel like being here anymore. And this person needs to sleep on this thing before they're ready to share. And the level of acceptance that comes from the awareness is genuinely life-changing. I mean, to see everyone thriving as their different and unique self, to see people being different and that being harmonious. Like that's really what human design is trying to help us to do. And I feel like in general, we're very taught that if everyone's doing different things and being different and having different passions, that there will be this discord. But what we don't realize is that there is this divine design, this divine order. We're meant to be different, and that's what makes us harmonious. If you look at the ecosystem, has all these different plants and animals that have different functions, and they're very specialized. And when there's that diversity in the ecosystem, that's a healthy ecosystem. If we only have one plant and there's only one, for example, if we do like, corn, we're growing just corn, like there's actually a weakness in the ecosystem. Human beings are the same way. We are one collective ecosystem and we're meant to be different. So if you're looking at someone else and thinking, I should be more like them, that's actually creating discord. It's robbing you from living your passion, but it's also robbing the world. You're meant to be unique. And the more that you can accept that about yourself, the more that you can see the magic that happens when we all give ourselves permission to follow our truth, to follow our own unique passions, our unique niche, or thing that makes us different than other people. And to get to see with human design how that is something, it's almost like heaven on earth. To experience that level of acceptance and to have people have deeper conversations right from the first conversation about understanding one another. Like we're not talking about like, so what's your job and things like that. It's instead like, how does your energy work and how can I support you? And that's a really beautiful glimpse into what we hope the future of humanity will sort of look like.
I love it. It reminds me of the gut microbiome, which is my other favorite topic, and diversity is king. And like you can't have a healthy gut without, so it's like so parallel. And whether it's the soil, the microbiome, or our ecosystem as humans, how cool. Well, so much love to both you and Shayna. Thank you for bringing baby on board and being here with Nap waking up. And we're just so happy to have you guys both and all the work that you do. Tell us, where can people find more? We talked about your DayLunaLife.com, but if there's anything you want to mention about what you're working on, what the next year might hold for you.
Yeah. So our website, DayLunaLife.com, is a great place. We also have a book. It's called Your Human Design. You can find it anywhere books are sold. And that's a great resource to look at how your strategy, how to lean into your strategy and authority day to day, what the daily practices can be. And also to learn so much about your human design chart. So Your Human Design, great resource. And our podcast, the DayLuna Human Design Podcast. We have so many offerings. We have trainings, we have a membership, we have retreats. There's so many ways that you can dive in because human design is really complex, but we really love and are so passionate about simplifying it and making it practical and applicable to your day-to-day life and giving a lot of examples around what that can really look like. So yeah, I think those are all the places. And yeah, I'm excited for anyone who's listening who is just going to be starting out their human design journey because the amount of people that we've met with that say like, this is something that I've gone to therapy for years and years, and you just gave me all of the answers in this one call together, or I have no idea who I am or where I'm going, and now I finally feel confident in what it is that I want to do. It just gives you so much clarity around relationships, around health, around your career, really every aspect of the human experience. You can look at human design and get some answers and support and action steps of what to do to create more ease in your life, more alignment, and increase your magnetism. So I'm excited for this journey. It's going to be really expansive, is what I've found with human design.
It is. And that's why I love having you guys here on the podcast. Love you so much and the work that you do, because it has absolutely transformed. A lot of business owners and physicians will ask me, well, how did you get where you're at? And all this. Human design was integral in who I am in the world and understanding that. And I've done, like I said, I'm an amateur, but I know a lot about it because it's so powerful. So I hope if you're listening, you'll just open your mind, check it out. This is a great place to start. And thank you both for way back when really diving deep and finding your purpose and meaning and finding human design and being advocates in the world for all of us to continue to grow and learn. You're so loved and appreciated.
Oh, thank you so much. And the feeling is mutual. We are in such admiration of your work. We love your projector wisdom. So we're really grateful to be connected. And we want to thank you for having us on today.
You're welcome. And thank you, Shayna, for bringing baby on board, and blessings to both of you. We'll talk soon. Hey, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that episode with Dana and Shayna from DayLuna Life. What a great information from human design. I know it's been really powerful understanding that in my life, and I hope you'll check it out. Hey, wanted to let you know our documentary, Doctor Patient. Of course, it can be found at drpatientmovie.com, but did you know it's now free streaming through Tubi and YouTube with ads? So feel free to watch it, share it with anyone who you might think would be benefit from that movie. And also, we are now live on Amazon Prime. So you can get this movie with Amazon Prime with no cost at all if you have a Prime membership. So check that out. Be sure and leave a review on Amazon Prime if you watch it, or if you can share it, that would help us out so much. We want to get the word out and the message out and the inspiration out. Have a great day. Know you can find all episodes and transcripts at jillcarnahan.com or anywhere you watch podcasts or listen on YouTube. Thanks so much and have a great day, and we'll see you next week.